before you knew it, I saw him raise his gun, and then I saw him take one shot, and then I just saw him take consistent shots after that.
I thought he was backing back to go somewhere else, you know, but he backed back just to reload and shot again.
Witnesses describing the shooting rampage that took place at 2 military offices in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Now, several questions remain as police and citizens search for answers. According to police, the gunman was 24-year-old Mohammed Youssef Abdulaziz, an American born in Kuwait. The FBI is working to determine whether this incident was a lone wolf attack or a terrorist acting on the direction of others. For more on this, let's join our guest, retired U.S. Army Major General Paul E. Vallely. He's also the chairman of Stand Up America, and joining us from the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund, former FBI Assistant Director Ron Hosko. First of all, welcome to you both.
Great to be with you.
Ron, you've worked a number of years in the FBI. Take us inside the investigation. What is the FBI looking into right now?
They are going to, certainly last night, would have been executing search warrants on properties owned or occupied by this subject. They will have, by today, probably issued dozens of subpoenas to service providers, would have fanned out to interview those family, friends, inner circle, looking at his social media, scrubbing everything he has touched in the last days, months, weeks, to try to paint a picture of who this person is or was and what motivated him.
General Vallely, we hear so much about this being a soft target at the recruitment center. Do you think that at some point people are going to have to reassess whether we should allow weapons inside these centers?
Well, absolutely. I've really got to make a point here. We have been at war since 1979 with radical Islam. Now, that has escalated and evolved into what we see today. Cells in America being developed, our borders crossed by radical Islamists, and also what's being done through the mosque and recruiting and through the social networking. So we, in my opinion, all these soft targets and hard targets, which will be hit also, we have got to secure these trained military forces that we have so they can protect themselves and the American people. And so, in my opinion, I want to see them armed just like they are in the armed forces in Israel, because we are, Rick, in a state of war.
You know, the shooting may have been a bigger shock for the people who actually knew the gunman. Take a listen to what one person had to say, and I'm going to get your reaction right after the interview.
It's crazy to hear about not only in your hometown, you never hear about it in your hometown, but someone you went to school with. We're all pretty shocked. We were in the same grades, had a lot of the same classes, and a lot of the same friends. Everyone is shocked. I mean, we're just blown away.
You hear that so often after these tragedies. Ron, let me ask you, was this a surprise and at some point a terrible tragedy that really could not have been prevented, or were mistakes made?
Well, we're going to find that out. I think we need to give the investigators a little bit of time and space to work and to piece that together. You know, in so many of these active shooter incidents, and even before we call it terror, it certainly was an active shooter incident. And in many of those incidents that the FBI studied in a 13-year review, they determined that there were pre-event indicators in many of them. And so the question is that a pre-event indicator that a family or a friend would have or should have noticed, or a classmate, a schoolmate? Or is it a pre-event indicator that somehow law enforcement should have noticed, that the FBI should have noticed, that other intelligence services might have noticed? So all those questions have to be determined in this investigation. All of us in the public want to know and want to do better. You see the opportunity that exists, and we just saw it in Boston recently, where a police captain pointed the FBI to his son. Now, that's a tragic set of circumstances where you're identifying your own son as a potential investigative target, but it could well have saved many lives. That's an example of how it can work. This could well be, and my supposition is, it's likely an example of missed opportunities.
General Vallely, you articulated how you think there's a connection, obviously, to the Middle East here. The gunman made several trips to the Middle East, including Jordan and Kuwait. Should his travel have been investigated years ago?
Well, Ron, it's hard to pick up on all of these individuals that are being radicalized and being able to add them to the terror list. I think the point more is that we are at war with radical Islam. They've infiltrated into our cities and other different areas. They are, by the directions of ISIS, going after our military, their targets, whether they're soft or hard targets. And that's why we can't depend on a 911 call after a post-event happens or after that event occurs. That's why you have to take seriously our members of the armed forces, our police. We need to have them armed. We need them to have ammunition. They're all trained to protect us. And I take exception to the Chief of Staff of the Army who came out today and said, well, we could be asking for more problems than we would expect or something to that effect. And this is just wrong thinking. Our government is not protecting us right now, and our president isn't. They are absolutely inept in securing America today. And I've been saying that for quite a while. I'm the only one that's been in the Middle East 5 times and been inside Syria and seeing what's happening over there. And the fact that they look at our government as weak, they look at, again, targeting, the soft targets and hard targets, and they know they can hit us anytime, any place. And when you have that kind of a situation, that's why you have to bolster up and go on a war footing. And that's what we need to do to protect America. And I think most Americans would agree with that.
All right, General Vallely, we're going to leave it right there. Ron Hosko, we appreciate your insight as well. Once again, the FBI continues a terrible tragedy, but the work continues to see if there was some directive from the Middle East. And we want to hear from you. And now it's easier than ever. You can send us your comments via email, Facebook, and Twitter. We're coming right back right here on Newsmax TV.